Hello, welcome to another episode of Feel the Screams podcast. Today we'll be talking about VHS Viral. Now, I will admit I was pretty excited for this one. The first two VHS movies were very good. They all had a creepy feel to them. Even the connecting scenes, which in the reviews in the past I was kind of like, do we really need them? But even they kind of did a good job of setting the tone. In each segment, usually they brought a little something to the movie. So I was excited to see what this one had to offer. I hadn't seen it before. Let's just start talking about it via segments, because that's what we've done in the past too. So we'll just get started on it right away. The very first one, Vicious Circles. That is the connecting scene, the glue segment, if you will. This involves a boy named Kevin and his girlfriend Iris. He has a video camera and he loves to videotape his girlfriend Iris. It's kind of funny. There's a part in the segment where Iris is kind of laughing and she's like, "I love when you film me." And he's like, "Oh yeah," and like he's even kind of creepy with the video camera. He's like videotaping her butt and her boobs, and she's like, "Oh, you, Kevin." But then like it cuts to like later on in time, and she's like, "Why are you always have that camera? Why do you always have it?" And she seems more frustrated. The beginning part was probably just the honeymoon of their relationship, and it probably got pretty old pretty quickly. But this segment here, I want to start with saying it does have a theme. I want to give it that, because this movie does get a lot of hate on any type of reviewing site that you look at. And don't get me wrong, this is a ginormous drop in quality compared to number one and number two. So don't get me wrong, I'm not going to stick up for this movie, because this movie does stink it up quite a bit. Though I do think it would be fun in a pretty big group, maybe if you were drinking a little bit, maybe you might have some fun with it. But let me just continue with this segment here. So, it all kind of breaks down with cops chasing an ice cream truck. Yes, that's right. As the ice cream truck goes by, his girlfriend gets like some type of video message. She becomes dazed. She goes near the street. There's a cop yelling at them for some reason. And Kevin's just like, "What? I'm in my property." And then the ice cream truck like runs the cop over. And all that's left is just an arm that goes flying at him. But then Iris is missing. And this starts the whole premise of Kevin trying to chase down the ice cream truck because he thinks she's in the ice cream truck for some reason. I think he has a video showing her in pain and he thinks she's in the truck. So he starts chasing after the ice cream truck along with the cops. Now, as this connecting segment cuts in and out of this film, it shows different people in the town. They also get the little video message and they start acting crazy. Like one guy climbs up on a bridge and just falls off and dies. Other people are getting like random nosebleeds. They're just not acting like typical people. There's also a segment to where Kevin's like chasing after the ice cream truck. And it's kind of funny because there's these other guys like on bikes and they're like, they pass up the cop car and almost get to the ice cream truck close enough to where a guy gets caught up on the ice cream truck and he starts to drag on the road and you see his feet like start to just like disintegrate, which was pretty gnarly. The theme that I talked about earlier, how the segment has one, I think it just goes back to the title of the film, Viral. People doing dumb things to become viral. You see YouTubers all the time just do stupid stuff. They're like messing around with the public, causing a scene. I think this is what this movie is trying to get at with this segment here. The people jumping up on the bridge, falling off, getting nosebleeds. Maybe people are watching so much YouTube and other stuff, it's unhealthy and it causes their nose to bleed. I don't know. This is just me trying to make the connection here. Because there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh, it didn't even make any sense." Like, I think it kind of did. It doesn't do a great job. There's just a lot of weird parts in it. And when I say weird, I don't mean scary, because it's really not scary at all. But by the end, it kind of nails home that little message. Before I get to the end, there was a little segment of a girl and a guy. She's trying to do like a little sexy video. And the guy's like, "Yeah, take off your clothes." And I guess the guy ended up posting a a video that she gave to her boyfriend, who her boyfriend sold it to this dude who posted it on a site, and it went viral, so people saw her naked, and this dude was making money off of her. And this was her way of like getting revenge. She takes the gun and she tells him to start taking his clothes off, but for some reason a cop car crashes into their car. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. But by the end of it all, he gets to the ice cream truck and he gets into it, and there's these TV monitors, kind of going back to the theme of the number one and number two. And his girlfriend Iris is on the TV and she's telling him to upload all those videos. And he's like, "What? No." Which I don't know why he would fight that. I mean, the dude was very into cameras and all that stuff anyways. But he ends up uploading it, and they have a little Beethoven or some type of opera music playing as he's approaching the ice cream truck. When he doesn't want to upload it, his girlfriend starts like slamming her head, which the way she does it, you can tell she's not hitting her head on anything. It's almost like she's just bending over sideways and they're applying like blood makeup to her face, and the boyfriend's like, "No, stop," and then he uploads it all. But then once he uploads it, she's like, "I'm gonna hit my head again," and she keeps doing it. And every time she like hits her face, she's like, "That'll go viral. That'll go viral." And that actually made me laugh. But to wrap up the whole connecting segment, it does have a theme. I will say that. There's people hating on it. They're like, "Oh, it has nothing to do with anything." Like, well, it does have a theme. I'm going to say that because I try to give positives the best I can, which I think I'm going to struggle with this movie because, again, it's a huge drop off in quality. But yeah, it has a theme. It's not scary like 1 or 2. The first one and second one, they do a lot better of a job. I gave the first one kind of a hard time just because there's some like weird moments in it, like them sexually assaulting a girl, them putting up a camera and a guy trying to have his girlfriend have sex in front of the camera. It's just kind of odd when you watch that on TV. If you have family over, you don't want to put that on. So it puts you in a weird spot with the first film, like, the only good time I can watch this is like by myself at night. And if you're like me and someone knocks on the door while you're watching it, it puts you in a very weird spot. But I mean, overall, that one's still a lot scarier than this one. And number 2, it literally feels like it's connected, like an extension of that. And this one just seems like someone was like, well, let's just do one over kids being obsessed with being viral. That'll be good. And at least it has the TV monitors at the end, and it's showing like clips from number 1 and 2. So it does like have a little bit of a connection, but still it just feels so much more different. Just because of like kind of how goofy it is and how out of left field it comes out. So yeah, that's me talking about the opening connecting glue segment. And I know I said a lot, but with this movie itself, I feel like there's not going to be a whole lot to harp on, because if you buy this movie, there is a 4th segment. There's one about a magician, there's one about another dimension, and then there's another one about these 2 skater boys like going around fighting demon skeletons, and I'll get to those. But there is a 4th segment, and I'll just get this one out of the way. You can find it online if you Google it. It's the Glamorous Vortex, I think is the title. If you stream it, you won't see it. It's not on there. They added it on like the Blu-ray DVD as like a special. And it has like no dialogue. It's just like kind of music. It's supposed to be like this female killer with I don't know, like the world order coming after her, and it's supposed to be like creepy vibes. And it's just like this weird artistic thing, and it's not even found footage, and I think that's why they didn't put it in this movie. But yeah, that's why there's like no 4th segment, and that's why whenever you see the girl and the guy like trying to make a video, and she holds him at gunpoint, and goes straight from that to the last bit of the connecting segment. So just like a little interesting tidbit there. If you watch it and you're like, "What? Only 3 segments?" Yeah, you got to buy the DVD to watch the 4th. And to be honest, I don't even think it's worth it. It's kind of boring. Now let's get talking about the other 3 segments that we have in this film. The first one is called Dante the Great. This segment is about a magician And it starts off as a mockumentary, which I guess is found footage. But it's weird because this one, and there's other segments that do it too, they do like weird stylized editing to where it doesn't really feel like a found footage film sometimes. But I will say the idea for this one, a magician, who's so like power hungry to become this great magician, he finds this cape that gives him like magical superpowers to where he can be an actual magician and not just doing tricks. But the cape wants to feast on people. So his assistants continuously go missing, and eventually the police notice, and then they try to bring him down. I think it's an interesting concept if it was a full movie. I think this is just one of the times to where, if someone made a movie about this, I think it could be good, to be honest. Because I feel like in the little segment where they tried to shove it in, which these 3 segments, they were allowed to go longer than I feel the other ones were, or maybe they were just a little bit more boring and they felt longer. But I felt like this segment just didn't have enough time to kind of flesh out its ideas to establish who Dante was before he got the cape, and then you could have watched him feed his assistants to the cape, and it probably would have been a little scary. But I feel like they didn't even really try to go scary with this one. Like they had some murder scenes, but eventually they just kept going back to the mockumentary, and then there's like a showdown between Dante and his like main assistant, who's a very close friend to him, and they kind of like square off. There's a part where like Dante's shooting off fireballs at cops. It's really just kind of corny, and I didn't hate it. I really didn't hate it. But I just felt like, again, it wasn't fleshed out enough, and I was kind of like, it's a cool idea, and I guess it's different that they're trying to do, and I could see people liking it, and I could see why they would like it, but it just doesn't feel like it belongs in a VHS movie. You go from a segment like Safe Haven, where like things are just terrifying and anxiety sky high, or the very first segment in the first movie. You go from that to this magician little segment. It just doesn't match up very great. It's not a great opening segment. It's just kind of all right. The next segment I will talk about is Parallel Monsters. Now this one, it had me very interested right from the get-go. This guy, he has his machine. He opens up another parallel universe and he sees himself. And they're like kind of talking to each other. That was kind of entertaining. Like, hey, what's your name? And they're like saying each other's name. They're like, oh, you too? Like, that's awesome. Hey, what time is it over there? Oh, here too. Like, but eventually, like, his parallel self is like, hey, we should explore each other's universe and then meet back in 15 minutes. And, the normal version of the scientist, I'll just call him a scientist, he's like, yeah, it sounds good. So like they cross into each other's like universe, and they're walking around, and they're like, oh, everything's the same. And eventually he sees like this picture, and he's like, oh, that's a little different. And you just notice something's off. And yeah, like it really gets good. It gets you interested. The normal scientist, he goes, oh, and he tells his parallel universe self, he's like, hey, don't wake up our wife. She's upstairs sleeping. He's like, oh, okay, I won't disturb her. So he goes adventuring off, and then he sees his wife, and she's like, hey, like, what are you doing? You gonna help me out? And he's like, oh, sure. And like, I feel like he's almost like snickering, like she doesn't even know it's not the real me. Like, this is a different me. But then she like takes him in the garage, and there's like 2 dudes that show up, and you get like immediate weird vibes. And I kind of thought to myself, like if you go into another parallel universe and you see your wife with like 2 other men, and she's like drinking wine, and she's like, yeah, like let's have a little party. Like, part of me, I think I'd get like a little jealous, and I'd be like, wait, what's going on here? Like the other part of me better not be a swinger. What's going on here? No, but he tags along, but then they go into a room, and there's like a sound of a woman orgasming, like looping. There's like a blood bag hanging from the ceiling, and the wife's talking, and she's like, oh, he always loves to go first, and he's just like kind of sitting there not saying anything. And it makes you like really interested, like what's about to happen, and you don't really see what's gonna happen. But eventually, like he like goes outside and he sees like this thing in the sky, and it's like an upside down cross. So it appears that this parallel universe is like the satanic universe. And meanwhile, the parallel universe scientist, he goes upstairs and like starts creeping on the wife immediately. He wastes no time. Like he doesn't look around or anything. He's like, oh, let's go check out the wife. He's like taking pictures of her. His flash is on. He's very obvious with it. But the segment that started off very interesting and had me like captivated, like, oh, what are they gonna do next? Like this could go in so many different directions. And the direction they decided to go with is that in this evil parallel universe, people have monster Satan genitals. It's very weird. Their face like glows up. And there's a point the two dudes, he like runs into him again, and they get like very weird for no reason. They're like, "Oh, you're still recording? You think you can record us?" And they like start chasing him. I'm like, "What? Why are they mad about him having a camera? They were fine with it a second ago." But eventually, the dude falls down, and one of the guys like pulls down his pants, and it's like this gigantic dog wiener that has like a mouth, and it's like hairy, and it's very disgusting looking. Like goes at the scientist, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Like, you guys had me. Now, like, what is this? And then the parallel universe scientist, he like pulls down his pants while the wife's there, and like his gigantic Satan wiener comes out. Yeah, I feel weird saying all this, but this is what happened. Eventually though, like he like stabs the dude's junk, and he runs away, and the wife's like, again, she's being weird. She's like, oh, you still have your camera, did you do it for me? And she like starts to unbutton her robe. But he just like he runs back to his universe, to where he sees like the other version of him, and he like stabs himself, like freaking out. But eventually, like the wife from the parallel universe, like she reveals her robe, and she has like a Venus flytrap vagina, and she sucks his head into. I don't know. And the dimension closes, and then the freaked out wife comes around the corner and stabs the parallel universe guy. I don't know. Like this segment was so weird and out there. And again, I was really into it until like the weird junk stuff started happening. Again, if you have a bunch of like friends over, who might laugh at that sort of stuff, it might be a good time. But it's like, my gosh, like, I don't know, like this segment just felt like a foul tip. Pun not intended. Again, like I was very interested from the beginning, but the whole junk stuff, it's kind of like it's almost like they spoiled it. Like they made it weird. I don't know. That can be good sometimes, but I'd really like a VHS movie to kind of have a spooky segment. This segment was probably the funnest one. I don't know what that says. It's a good idea. It's funny, I guess, but yeah, that's Parallel Monsters for you. A lot of people love this one, and I can see why. I didn't care for the weird twist, but it is something. I will say it's better than Dante the Magician, and it's certainly better than the next one I'm going to talk about. That segment is called Bone Storm. Man, oh man, I did not like this one. I did not like it at all. The main characters in it are just like very entitled skater kids who they're constantly trying to do skater tricks, and they're getting people mad. There's like a police officer like, you guys can't be skating like at this hotel, and they're like, screw off. And like I think it's supposed to be funny when they act like that. One of them skates into a dude's car, and he gets out and he's like, guys, like, I hope you didn't damage my car. And they're like, dude, screw off, get back in your car. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, these kids suck. These kids are just walking around with like cigarettes and stuff. Probably, I don't know. Like, these kids just aren't fun kids to hang around. And they're like, oh, let's go to, I forget where they want to go to, like Tijuana or something. They're like, let's go to Tijuana. So we go to Tijuana with them, because that's going to be a blast. They go there, and they're like, yeah, let's go there to like skate, which Well, one of the kids, he's like, "Oh, we should go to Tijuana for like, there's beer there, there's like weed there, there's women there," and then it like cuts to them there. Like, I guess that's supposed to be funny. Like, that was enough to bring them there. But once they're there, there's like these like weird people that start to follow them, and there's like concrete with like satanic markings, and they're like, "This is a little weird," but they skate on it anyways. And one of them falls on his skateboard, and he starts like bleeding everywhere, and he bleeds on a satanic symbol, which leads to these like weird demonic skeletons to like pop out of nowhere, and they like start to attack the boys. This got very stupid very quick, and this is a very long segment. I felt like this segment took like 50 minutes. It probably didn't, but this is just what it felt like to me. Like, it's just these boys like skating around, they're like, "We're gonna have to fight our way out." It felt like a very bad Power Rangers movie. um, there's even a part where they're fighting, and I mean, these kids are literally just like picking up their skateboard and like whacking these skeletons in the head, and then when they like whack them enough, the skeletons will like flip them off and then explode. And it's like terrible CGI. Whenever they explode, I think there's even a part where there's like a firecracker that was CGI. There's a lot of CGI used in this movie, and it's bad CGI. Like, I almost think, I mean, right now I'm not looking at the time this movie's made, but it almost seems like, you know, the era where people in Hollywood found out that like CGI is a thing, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to change everything. We need to put as much CGI in movies as possible." And now when you go back to watch them, like, it's very bad looking, it's terrible looking. That's how this movie is. There's just a ton of CGI. I mean, these boys are smacking skeletons with skateboards. And one of them gets killed. And oh my god, the name they came up with this kid, like, literally a boy just looks over and goes, "Oh man, they got Gas Money Keith," which I think that was the name. Like, it's either Gas Money Kid or Gas Money Keith. And I'm like, what? Like, this is so dumb. Like, man, like, we went a far way from VHS 1 and VHS 2. This is a very sad film, and I can see why it gets so low of a score on any type of rating. Like, even if you look on Reddit, people trash it left and right. There's some people that say they think it's fun. Maybe if you were a skater kid, maybe you can kind of relate to these guys. I don't know. These kids are douchebags. Like, I'm sorry. I don't like them. I don't like them one bit. If you like them, that's fine. That's fine. We can differ in opinion. But yeah, this segment, it was one I disliked a lot. It wasn't scary. I didn't even find it entertaining. The close-ups of them fighting, like, they put the camera like right up on the kid's face, and like sometimes they like show the kid's shoulders moving like he's like punching people or punching skeletons. It's like, how is that entertaining? How is that good? And granted, I've never made a movie, so I mean, like, I can run my mouth and talk crap about it. Yeah, but overall, like, oh, I didn't like this segment. I'll just end it there because I'm droning on and on about it. It was very silly. Oh, and here's the part that got me mad. So in all these movies, every single character meets their demise. They get killed. These kids make it. These annoying kids that just don't care for anyone, that like skate on people's cars and break stuff, and when people call them out on it, they're like, "F you, man." They're the ones who come out alive. You know, like, all the other good characters that were like, "Oh, I wish they would have made it. Like, they were kind of cool." No, not them. These kids make it. That got me mad. But yeah, end of tangent. So yeah, this has been my review for VHS Viral. By far the worst one of the three that I've watched. I don't know how 94 is going to hold up. I hope it's a lot better. I think they have 7 movies in the series, so I'm hoping the quality picks up some. I really do. I've heard that 94 is a nice back to basics, so I'm heading in hopeful. But yeah, I did enjoy this one a lot. I stood up for the connecting segment quite a bit in the beginning of this review. But I mean, other than that, I mean, like, Parallel Monsters was a little bit interesting in the beginning. But yeah, this wasn't good. This wasn't good. Not a good follow up to the other two. They didn't connect that well. The vibes didn't feel the same. Yeah, not good. If you're with a group of friends, again, and if you're drinking, I could see it being fun. But overall, I think it's just not a very well done movie. Too much CGI. It's not scary. Some things don't make sense. And yeah, it just wasn't that great. But if you like it, good for you. I'm happy you like it. And if you do like it and you think I'm wrong, tell me why in the comments. I would love to hear it. Love hearing different perspectives. I won't crap on you for it, because I know there's some movies that I love that a lot of people hate. And if you agree with me, tell me in the comments as well. I also like when people agree with me. So either way, fun times. Feel free to comment what you think about this movie. Hopefully 94 is better for me. Hopefully I like it more, because we're going to keep these rolling. And if you're still listening, feel free to give this a like so it gets out to other people. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? But yeah, here comes 94. Until next time, guys.